Valentine's Day card. My son doesn't think that Valentine's Day is for boys because pink is a girl color and why should boys give pink cards? Whatever. But anyways, so I thought I'll make a card that will suit him. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Owl Together stamp set, and I've used the big note or the top notes die for the big shot, and so I've cut out actually 3 layers. I've cut out a photo, I've cut out a piece in the chocolate chip, and I've cut out a piece in the Very Vanilla. Now my Very Vanilla I cut out along the perforated edge, so along these dotted lines here, I cut out to have a slightly smaller layer for the front of my card. So I'm going to start by stamping on here. I'm using basic brown ink because I would like to blender pen. So I'm going to use this on Very Vanilla, and I'm just going to stamp this little guy up here. And now my owl, I'm going to stamp on here. The reason I'm using basic brown is because it is a semi-permanent ink. There we go. And it won't bleed when I'm using the blender pen. And I'm just going to stamp my Guess Who Loves You down here. And last but not least, a few little hearts. Just do that. Probably, maybe here. Haven't planned it. There we go. So I've got my images stamped, and now to blender pen. I'll show you quickly how I do that. I'll do the leaves and then the rest I'll do off camera. So this is the blender pen. It has 2 ends. They're both identical. I tend to use one end, and then once it's done I use the other end. And what I like to do best is use the ink pad, give it a little squish, open it up, and then see this color here on the lid. I'm going to pick that up with my blender pen. Now I find that blender pens work best on the vanilla and the Whisper White, and your aqua painter is best on the watercolor paper. So I'm just going to color these in, and because it's a small area, I'm not going to get a lot of that two-tone look that sometimes you can get when you blender pen because it's so tiny. But what we're going to do is add a little bit of depth to these leaves, and we're going to add some Old Olive. So there's my Kiwi Kiss. Exactly the same thing. I'm going to squish that out. Because I'm using a darker color, I'm not going to clean off my blender pen, but if I were using a different color, I would color it off to clear it. So I'm just going to pick up some of that darker color and add just a little bit of depth to these leaves. And I'm going to color this exact same way, the hearts and the owl, and I'll show you what it all looks like in just a few minutes. So hopefully you can see that on the camera. I'll move it up a bit so you can see kind of the 2 tones there. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so you'll see that my owl and tree is all colored in here. I used more mustard for the heart's beak and legs, feet, whatever, and creamy caramel and close to cocoa for the body. So what I'm going to do now is just adhere this to, and here you can see I used the back for my rub-off spot for my blender pen. Thought I'd save on paper. I'm just going to put my snail adhesive here on the back, and I'm just going to layer this on, and you'll notice of course that my top notes, I cut this edge off. I just used my paper cutter and cut a straight edge. So I've got that done. And now what I'm going to do here is I've got a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of the Urban Garden designer paper, and I'm just going to adhere that to my chocolate chip, and I'm going to assemble my entire card front aside, not on my actual card, because I'm going to use an eyelet, or sorry, a brad, and I don't want that to poke through my card. So my brown is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and now this is actually going to be tucked underneath my image here. So this is going to be my card front. I'm going to just center that down, and that's going to be tucked under, and we're going to put a brad here, and then that brad is going to help, or is going to swing here, and it's going to open it up, and you can see Mark and his Valentines. So I'll be right back. I got to grab the hole punch. Okay, so to assemble my card, what I'm going to do first is attach my photo to the designer series paper. So I'm just going to use a bit of snail here, and I'm going to do it just higher than the halfway point, and I'm going to line it up so it's right on the designer series paper. You can hear the snowplow going by. So I've got that there, and now this piece I'm going to actually just lay on top, and I'm going to hole punch. So I'm just going to use the 1/8 hole punch here and just give it a punch. And I always punch upside down so I can see where the needle of the hole punch is going. So I'm going to punch that, and I'm going to insert my Build-A-Brad. So I've got my antique brass Build-A-Brad. I'm just going to stick that here. And again, sorry, just like a duotang, you're going to open up your backs. So I've got my Build-A-Brad. And now to apply my Build-A-Brad, I'm actually going to cheat. I find this works okay. I'm going to just apply a little bit of snail to my 1/2" circle punch, and I just used the same matching designer series paper. And then the Build-A-Brad comes with some little clear tops. They're somewhere. They're hard to find if you lose them on your tabletop. Oh, here they are. Some clear tops, and I'm just going to stick one of those on top so it gives it a nice finish. So I've got my Build-A-Brad, and you can see here now that this is going to spin. And I can see my little monkey there for Guess Who Loves You. But I want to finish this off by applying a couple of pieces of ribbon here, just to add a nice pull tab. So what I'm going to do is just using my paper piercer and poke a couple of holes here. And then I'm going to use a strip of the Kiwi Kiss double striped grosgrain ribbon. And I'm going to use some old olive brad. So I'm going to put my brad through, and then I'm just going to poke it through my ribbon. And then just close my ribbon back. So you can see that poking up the top. And then I'm going to use do the same thing with the chocolate chip here. Just a strip of the skinny ribbon, grosgrain ribbon there. So I've got my brad through. I'm going to fold this back, poke it through, and flatten out my brad backs. So now I've got a cute little pull tab for the Guess Who Loves You. Cute, eh? Do you like that? Okay, so I will be right back. I'm going to hole punch down here, and we'll feed through some ribbon. And actually, I can show you. You can use the double circle punch, or you can use a 1/8 hand punch. So I'm just going to eyeball this. And I'm going to poke 2 holes here. Perfect. And I'm going to just feed my ribbon through the hole. And there's no real reason I'm doing it, just to add a little bit of peel, make it look a little bit different. I feed that ribbon through. I'm going to wrap this around my card, and I'm just going to tie a little knot right down here. And then this whole layer will get attached to my card front, and we'll decorate the inside. Okay, so I added just a strip of the matching designer series paper here, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then I just cut it off right when I hit that Guess Who Loves You. And I just did a three holes of the paper piercing just to add a little bit there. And again, the card flips up, and push that down. And then on the inside, I just stamped I do, using the jumbo outline alphabet, the little owl, and then another strip of that matching designer paper. So there's one of Mark's Valentines done and ready. Thanks for watching.